Hi to all and welcome once again to our series of conversation from G100 Global Networking. Yes, friendly conversation. We love to keep this atmosphere. We really believe in the power of what is exchange, in the experience from others, the expertise from others, joining together, not necessarily from the state, but from the people. And when we explore, we analyze what are the sustainable development goals, we see that they say the human center. Yes, we wanted to do that. We really wanted to do that. Not that the state put the individuals at the center stage, not that the humans, individuals like us, are there, putting all the heart, their expertise at the service of their community towards development, a healthy development from our societies. In this series, this new series that we have of conversation with experts, we grab into our G100 network that we love. We are passionate about what is solidarity and voluntary work, what is women empowerment. And for that, we have bring a national chair for UK, that is patient Modevi. I'm going to introduce her shortly. She's one of that conversation on what is a woman in a family, with a challenging situation, but with a successful outcome. That is not more inspiring way to see how they are the solution, where they rely the solution, where is the power inside us, than to listen to others. The power of listening. And that's what we exercise now. And I would like to repeat what patients say, if you allow me. I have taken from your blog, that there is power in my vulnerability. Get to know me and accept all of me, whatever is deemed good or bad. There has not been a magic formula per se, maybe more of a perception change, which then brought expansion and harmony within me. The hard way is not the only answer. Being strong is not the only answer. Hustling is not the only answer. Instead, I choose and keep on choosing. The playful, easy way, the vulnerable way, the effortless joy way. Thank you, Chair of UK Global Networking, Patient Modevi, founder, Authentic Care, coach, and a wonderful and powerful contributor for our WIN G100 Global Networking. Patient, welcome, and thank you for sharing with us your story.
Thank you so much, Ma. First of all, for creating such a space for all of us to be and to really come and share our vulnerabilities, which are our strengths as well, as you said it. And thank you very much for giving me this space to share a bit of my story and empower other women, other mothers out there, other parents, and also dads as well. In the world, so that they know that there is not only challenges, but there's also successes in our challenges. And today I would like to share a bit of my story with you all. So it all started about 23 years ago, when my firstborn was born. It was a joyful time, and I was really happy. It was my first child, so there was a lot that I did not know. First of all, about childbearing and also having children, but also in terms of what came after, which was a diagnosis of autism. So my son was pretty much developing as other children were, until about the age of 3, where at that time it started to show other signs, other behavior, a little bit of like not understanding. So here came a lot together. So first of all, I was a young mom. Then second, inexperience. So I thought I was doing something wrong. I thought it was all my fault, why my son was not developing properly, why he was not having, maybe not doing as well as other children were doing. Well, this is what I was thinking at the time. But moving fast forward, after having the diagnosis, I realized that it was a journey, and it was a journey of ups and downs, but a lot of ups along the journey. What happened after is throughout the journey is that I have had other children, and my children also have another diagnosis of autism. And I realized that in autism, there is different side. But what happens as a mother when you are a mother of children who have disability or even neurodivergence children, is that you come through a few challenges, and I've noted a few challenges that I want to stress here, and I hope that our guest expert will be able to bring a bit more of their expertise with this. But there was communication and understanding has been if I can say, the most challenge, the biggest challenge that we faced as parents. Because for us to be able to support our children, we need to be able to understand their needs and understand what it is that will help them, will support them. And this comes in a challenge, especially, for example, when your child is nonverbal. So having a child that is nonverbal and being a parent, in this case, is brought really a lot of difficulties in terms of stress and in terms of understanding and frustration. I think frustration for the children, but frustration as a parent, not being able to solve a problem or anything like that. So that's added quite a stress. There's been also stress in terms of like childcare duties. So childcare duties in the sense that children of autism or children with neurodivergence, often, as they cannot be understood, they will have what some people might call tantrum, what some people might call crisis, but they have a difficulties, and that difficulty comes with a behavioral issue, and that behavioral issue adds another extra stress on parent. Often, what happens with us as parents and as mothers is that we lose ourselves. So we lose ourselves into our children. We lose ourselves and we forget to take time for our self-care. We forget to take time for healthcare. If you look into some of the statistics in some research, you will find that a lot of parents of neurodivergent children have difficulties with their health, and this is not being seen until maybe it's late, because all the focus is on the children. Another thing is that we forget who we are as individuals. And I remember a time where all I could think about was my children, and I was not seeing myself. I was not seeing an endpoint for myself. I wasn't seeing myself having a career. I wasn't seeing myself looking after myself, even having passions, having hobbies. All of this changed throughout the time where I think I took over a little bit more of my time, but also as my children grew, I understand that it is about me first and foremost, because I need to look after myself so that I can then look after themselves. If I am strong, and I'm really loose with the term strong, but if I am strong, then my children can rely on me, and I can strengthen as well the core of my family. But going through all of these, some things that, and I spoke a lot about this in other subjects, but is stigmatization has been really difficult. And stigmatization in terms of education, in terms of culture, in terms of society. So for someone like me, for example, who is quite I'm quite active. So I work for Transport for London. I work in my business. I volunteer with G100 and the Mothers Army. I am someone who is really active, and luckily I've got the chance to have also a partner, my husband, who has been there to support me in that way. Not everybody has that chance. For us to understand more, and for us to bring more of awareness around this, I think more people need to understand what people are going through and what mothers are going through. And not to finish, but also another thing I want to mention as well is finances. I think a lot of people do not understand that the finances that you put into bringing up and being a parent of a neurodivergent child is different from the way you will do it with another child, basically, who wouldn't have these kind of challenges.
Wow, patient, you have gone through all the elements, from financial empowerment, from emotional empowerment, what is family empowerment, the need for all the elements together. We are going to see it today with the different experts, and you know, we are a women empowerment platform, but we are a very specific platform, very special, because we do believe on this, the power of men. So women and men, he for she and she for he. And that's why men first, we say here. And Steve Costello, thank you so much for being here today. Your contribution, we are sure it would be excellent and helpful. You're a coach, therapist, mindfulness specialist, helping individuals and groups, in this case G100, to overcome obstacles and life challenge. Please, Steve, go ahead. We are really thrilling with your insights on this.
Here, it's an honor, and to hear some of the things that patients have just said it's wonderful in a way, because we don't hear enough. I can think of several people who I know well who have autistic children, for example, and they don't tell the world about what it is they're going through. And one of the problems, I think, or one of the challenges faced by parents of neurodiverse children are often difficult to explain, and they're invisible to the experience of outsiders who we can label neurotypical. So, but the problem is labels are generalizations, aren't they? So I just want to ask some questions I don't want to hear answers, but I'd like you to think about these questions. Do you know what autism is? I'm asking this of everybody. Or ADHD, or dyspraxia. There are just 3 neurodiverse challenges that come under the general umbrella. I want to tell you a little story about 2 girls, daughters of one of my friends. The girls are called Erin and Mia. One is 14, one is 11. They're both autistic. But if you meet them, or when I meet them, Mia will expect me to give her a hug. Absolutely. If I don't give her a hug, there'll be trouble. But the problem is, if I'm noisy, if I'm singing a song or listening to some loud music, Mia won't come close. She'll get away as far as possible. Whereas Erin, on the other hand, absolutely will not let me give her a hug. And if I'm playing loud music, she'll dance along with me. They are 2 very, very different young women. So let's think about something that happened to their mum. She received a phone call at work during a meeting. Your child is disrupting the rest of the class. Please come and collect her right now. So I'll get on to what happened about that in a minute. So let's define neurodivergent just really simply. Diverse ways of thinking, interacting, and processing. So perhaps the child who the phone call was about wasn't disrupting at all. Why not? because it's just her way of communicating the best way she can, the best way she knows how. Now, I can talk fairly freely about the UK, where there are a lot of excellent support groups. And there's also the same in other European countries. And they offer professional support, they offer peer-to-peer support for parents. And the availability of this support is essential. But what can the rest of the community do? What can people like me do? I don't have any neurodivergent children, although I have one who is very slightly dyspraxic, and that's classed as neurodivergent. What can the rest of us do? What can employers do? These are questions we need to be asking. Should we expect employers to add issues relating to neurodivergence to well-being programs, for example? Well, I can't speak for the rest of the world, but in the UK, only 1 in 4 companies have well-being programs. Some of the big companies like Microsoft, for example, and many others, they have taken steps to create programs to support neurodiverse employees. They've seen that some neurodiverse employees bring something extremely special into the workplace. So they're doing as much as they can to support that. Some governments are supporting that as well. They're putting money into the system to enable people to find work. So that's all very positive. The thing is, though, something worth thinking about in a little bit of detail is that on estimate, there's between 15 and 20% of the world population thought to be neurodiverse. So if it's 20%, let's use that as a round figure, that's about 1.5 billion people. That is a lot of people. Add to those 1.5 billion people their direct family, their mum, their dad, whoever's involved closely with them. There's a lot of people affected in some way by neurodiversity, and these people need support. So how can we enable parents of neurodiverse children to tell their story without being marginalized or passed over for job promotions, for example? There are a lot of other examples we could find in there. It seems complicated. It's complicated for parents. We've just heard Patience's story. It's complicated. And it's complicated for employers, but perhaps not as complicated as we may wish to make it. So Forbes published a study quite some time ago now, and it showed that happy employees are on average 20% more productive in the workplace than unhappy employees. 20%, that's a lot. So should we focus on happiness as a central starting point? The happiness of neurodiverse people, the happiness of the parents of neurodiverse people, and so on and so forth. So I've asked a lot of questions. I've not given many answers. And I think there was a reason behind me not giving many answers. And it's because we need to communicate. We need to talk about this. We need to learn. We need to understand. We need to understand what it is to be the parent of neurodiverse children. We need to understand the challenges. We need to understand that phone call that came that said, please come and collect your daughter right now. The boss didn't understand what was going on. Why is your daughter being disruptive? That boss needed to understand. We can't blame the boss. Not really. Okay, if there are any questions, I'm very, very happy to answer. We can answer through the chats and so on and so forth. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to having you here and with your insights as a man and something that I love from you, that you say complications, things maybe are easier and we could make it easier. It's our responsibility. And that is something that is really why we are here, to see how we could make it easier and what we can become resilient even within challenge. Patient, please.
Completely. If I was to give you some example, and I discussed this with Steve before. So basically, as an example, my son, when he was in primary school, had difficulties in the class. He didn't have any difficulties at home. He didn't have any difficulties at the childminder, but he had difficulties at school. And the teacher immediately said that he must have some mental health challenges. So she started to label him and to say that the reason why he wasn't, things were not going right were because of that. So my son at the time, I need to explain this as well, was going into a special needs school. So you would expect a special needs school to have the adequate ways of dealing with behavioral issues or challenges. You will expect them to have a bit more of like, I wouldn't say empathy, but openness in terms of behavioral challenges. However, she was adamant. So we went through a mental health diagnosis to see whether my son had mental health challenges. And it came up as he did not have any mental health challenges. So you see where stigmatization also happens right at the center of where children are. And can you imagine, as a mother, how difficult and challenging it was for me to have to defend my son and say he does not have any mental health challenges, and to be against an institution who was saying, yes, your son has. So luckily, after all the assessment, it came as he did not have any. But this is all part of the stigmatization that is in our culture, in our society, and in the educational system as well.
Yes, stigmatization is really a challenge, but sometimes the societies are not doing it because of hate, just because of ignorance, of not knowing how to address this kind of challenge, and also don't use the correct vocabulary. You remember we have a person here in our network with goodwill, with the best intention, and it's saying, well, this is about autistic families, no? And patients saying, no, this is not. So the vocabulary is also very important. I don't know if Sandra would like to say something, or Steve, please. You are very welcome to add on what is stigmatization.
Okay, I've always got plenty to say. I just hope it's valuable. I told this short story about the two girls, which is a true story. They're both autistic, but they're at very different places on the autistic spectrum. When those two girls, I was there at this time, we went to a social event which included lots of different people. It wasn't a very noisy, loud event. It was just a nice social event. And the girls responded very differently within that event. And the responses turned some heads, like, why is this girl like that? Why is that girl like that? What is going on? Why is she different? So there was a lot of difficult questions being asked. And some of those questions were, to be honest, I thought they were quite unnecessary. They were unfair because they didn't take anything into account other than the picture they could see at this social gathering. They didn't know, people didn't know the backgrounds. They didn't know where these girls were coming from. They didn't know what these girls felt good about and what they didn't feel good about. So that's nobody's fault. But how can we get that across? How can we understand? Where do we need to send these messages? How do we get people to hear and to see and to accept that there are about 1.5 billion people in the world who are neurodivergent? That's a lot of people, isn't it? 1.5 billion. And if all of those only has one parent, that's 3 billion people affected in some way or another. We need to understand those 3 billion people. We need to be able to support those 3 billion people. Now, I'm in danger of getting on a soapbox because this is I'm very passionate about this, about supporting people and looking after people. But what can we do? How can we help? How can we as a group help? How can I help? I help patients by talking to her, for example, and by listening to what she has to say. And maybe that's good for her. But somebody else may need a little bit more. For example, I have a niece with an autistic son who's not completely nonverbal. And a couple of weeks ago, he came home from school with a certificate from his head teacher. He goes to a special school in the UK. And the certificate said, certificate in communication awarded to name. And it's been awarded because he knows how to communicate and get what he wants. And that was fantastic. I understood what it meant for him to get that award. I understood how his mother felt about him getting that award, and she felt incredibly emotional and happy and all kinds of emotions all rolled into one at the same time. But for many of us, we wouldn't really understand just how big that was, what a big deal it was. So again, we need to find ways of getting those words, those messages out there.
Yeah, thank
Patience,
you.
I know you've got some thoughts on that.
Creating awareness by listening. No, that seems to be the first rule. No, empathy also came from listening. Sandra, we have Sandra Mame Opukwa. I think I pronounced it correctly. That was the challenge of this event. Is the founder and CEO of Johnny and Friends for Autism in the UK and the NGO Johnny and Friends in Ghana. She currently lives in London, UK, where she advocates for issues on disability within the community, both in the UK as well as abroad. Initially a dental nurse, she then studied health promotion as well as master in public health master. She is a radio presenter, a speaker, activist, and disability advisor. Sandra, you are very welcome. What do you think about all that we are saying about stigmatization, family support? What is networking? What is this kind of conversation?
Yeah, thank you so very much for having me on today. I really, really appreciate, and I'm always very excited when the opportunity arises for us to share our own experiences as well as create more awareness. Just before I start, I just want to add to what Steve said in terms of how we can create awareness and get people to understand and get better communication. One thing I also find, as a mother myself with a young man, he's now 23, that is on the autistic spectrum, is that some of us parents, it's still very hard to accept ourselves that, we've been given the diagnosis for our child or for that person that has, the disability. And so if you yourself have not accepted the diagnosis or what has been said to you, it makes it really hard for you to also then educate others or create the awareness more, because you are still dealing yourself with the news that, oh, your child has a disability or has autism or whatever it may be. So if you yourself is not confident within yourself, then, those who don't understand what they may see in terms of maybe behavior or whatever it is, you won't be able to positively sow a positive seed in them. And like I said, I'm speaking for myself, because the days when I was still struggling with the fact that my son had autism, when people would see his behavior or make comments, I was weak within myself to say, hey, I mean, this is who my son is. This is how he communicates with the rest of us. And if you don't understand, you know, I mean, this is his nature, and ask me and I will explain. It wasn't until I myself became very confident within me and said, okay, this is my son. I can't change who he is. I just have to support and help him. And so in supporting and helping my son, I was also building my own confidence as well as supporting myself. So when people would then stare at him or make comments, I boldly could, you know, explain and let them know that, listen, he's not different from you. He's normal, a person like yourself. Because he has autism doesn't mean you have to treat him in any way or different. You just have to take time to understand him more so that you can best support him when he needs your support. So I just wanted to chip that into what Steve was saying when it comes to communication. And as you rightly said, yes, we have a charity called Johnny and Friends for Autism, because I realized the early days when I myself was given the diagnosis for my son, you know, there were many other young people being diagnosed with autism, and there was not really much support for us, especially my community, being from the Afro-Caribbean community. A lot of us still have this notion of, oh, it's not me, it can't happen to my child. They don't accept, and they don't allow the right support to be given to their child or that young person. So I just thought of, you know, I mean, it's not just my son who has been diagnosed as having autism. There are many of them. So that's how the name Johnny and Friends came about. So as you rightly said, I do support especially mums out there who don't know the kind of help they can get to let their young one develop in the way that they should. A lot of us tend to shy away from a lot of support that is out there for them, because they have this notion that, you know, if I take the support, it means I'm accepting. So being that I myself have a son with autism, I always use myself as an example to say, look, I'm not just giving you the information, but I myself is also have been blessed by accepting the help and support. And these are the things that I've seen for my own son. This is what has helped him. This is what has helped me. But since COVID came, you know, a lot of us were in the house where we couldn't go out. And it was very, very, very hard for that person with the disability, especially autism, if they're used to routine. So when we couldn't go out, when many activities, places were closed down, it was really difficult. So I decided to link with other parents and see what they were doing at home to, you know, support themselves as well as support that person with their disability. And one thing that I found during COVID was that a lot of parents were coming to me with, oh, I'm not able to cook my food. I'm not able to maybe go shopping because I don't have the help in terms of somebody else to look after that young person or that person with a disability. So I'm stuck in the house. And I found myself, as I always do, go out there and try to help others. So I would shop for them and I will also cook. Then one day I just sat down and said, hey, I mean, cooking is not something that I do for others, but this can be like a mini business that I can also be doing, you know, within our little circle of parents that that are carers but need support when it comes to preparing food or going out shopping. And so when I saw that it was you know, I could make a little business out of it, I said, well, I can't keep this to myself, because if I can cook to make extra money for other parents, I need to find out what other other parents are capable of doing. And you see, for us who are parents or carers, a lot of us tend to give up on ourselves. So then I use myself again as an example to some of us, especially moms, but, you know, parents that listen. Not because you have a child or you are a carer taking care of somebody else with a disability, it doesn't mean your life ends there. What can you do with yourself? What are you good at? And you will get the excuse that, oh, because of my child or because of that person, I can't really go out, or I can't work anymore, or I can't do this. And I said, no, but you can still do self-employment. You can do something with yourself, because you shouldn't give up on you. And this is where mental health comes in, because, you know, when we become carers, the ones I know, I can't speak for everyone, but the ones I know, it's like the focus is only on that person with the disability. They stop taking care of themselves. They give up on their own aspirations, their own, you know, future, your purpose, why you're here. They give up on all of that. So then I came up with supporting moms to, you know, use their careers that they had before they had that child to support other moms. So if somebody is like maybe a teacher, but now because of her child, she's given up on her job, or she only works 1 day a week or something, you can give advice to another parent if they need information or support within that area. And so far, we have a platform of almost 100 moms. Some of us are teachers, some of us are social workers, some of us are dentists, some of us work in, you know, various professions. But because of, you know, our child and being a carer, we have not been able to put to, you know, very good use what we studied before becoming a carer. So now we have this platform. It's bringing back the confidence of these parents to know that, okay, even though I'm at home caring, I'm still useful to somebody else that may need my help, support, and advice. And slowly, some of us are becoming self-employed, going back to work slowly, you know, even if it's 1 day a week, to make them feel worthy, useful, and to find themselves again. Because it's very, very hard to get yourself back to how you used to be the minute you become a carer. It's all about that person you have to take care of. And it brings with it depression, isolation. Some of us don't even go out. And so we also do, we have events where we go out together to eat, to maybe have a meal in the evening. We even travel together, because some of us also are even afraid to get on a flight with that young person that has a disability, especially autism, where it's a spectrum. Some of us, our children have, you know, behavioral issues where people don't understand why they will be flapping their hands, you know, holding their ears and rocking and maybe bursting out to laugh. So the parents feel like, I don't want to disturb anyone, or I don't want people to be staring at me, so I won't go on that holiday, or I won't jump on that flight. So slowly we are just supporting and building ourselves, where we will go as a group, maybe 3 moms, go on holiday, so that we can support each other. So this is where I've now channeled my my passion when it comes to advocating for disability and families within our community.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I'm sure patient, it was fantastic. I'm sure patient have many comments on that, no, and experience similar as Sandra.
Yes, definitely. I mean, a lot of what Sandra mentioned is, the reality of the lives as parents, as mothers. I think one thing that Sandra mentioned at the beginning when she was saying that there is this idea of, first of all, accepting the diagnosis is weird. I don't know if I should say weird, but it's weird to know that when you have a diagnosis, the diagnosis is about your child, yet you are feeling like the diagnosis is about you. And I think that's something that was really important that Sandra mentioned there, is like understanding that we are there to support our children, and we are there to advocate for our children. I think one thing that she really put it in a great way here is that when we are confident in ourselves, when we have looking after ourselves, when we are our own individual, we are then able to go and advocate for our children. We're then able to create a space for our children. Like I am, and I'm always saying that, I feel always that I'm blessed and I'm lucky in that I am able to go and advocate for my children. I am able to support my children in their own unique way. So I've got children, I've got a child that is nonverbal at the moment, yet is the happiest child you will find. He's happy because his needs are met. As long as his needs are met, he's happy. But this I would never have been able to do if myself I did not go on to a journey. So I think it's also finding communities like Sandra's community, or even other communities out there that supports mothers and that are creating this. And the more we talk about it, the more we have events like this, like the one we're doing right now with G100, the more we are able to tell other mothers, you are not alone. There are other communities over wherever you are in the world. There will be communities that you can go and be with, and they can create this space where you can let go, release things, and be able to be the person who can care in the best way for your children.
Connecting, share your experience with the community, finding support, always the same, as a globally working that is creating this kind of atmosphere, so the community becomes the power. So we need to create the resources as this one, no? That is the debate, the exchange, and to create the organization that adapted to what is the reality. Do you feel that the public sector is supporting you in UK? Do you feel supported by the public sector, or by the legislature? Do you think we need more?
I think yes and no. Yes and no, because compared to other countries, and here I will compare with France, because this is what I know, so England and France, compared to other countries, there is not as much support in some other countries as there is here in England. So if we have to look at it in a global way, there's a lot more support in England, not only in terms of the education, but in terms as well of like things that is happening outside of school, things that are happening in terms of finances. I was mentioning finances. In terms of finances, there is quite a bit of support. And often people are not aware of all the support they can have. So being in isolation, that's where they tend to miss out on the support that is there in terms of the public sector. But on the opposite side, I feel like much more can be done. So, for example, Sandra and myself were talking about this is as we are mothers in the same space. We were talking about what do we do with our young person who's now reached a level, an age level where they do not have any more support in terms of the education. So what happens, for example, is that my son and Sandra's son is about 23 years old, 23, 24 years old. Once they get to 25 years old, I think, I'm not too sure exactly, but I think it's 25. Is that right, Sandra? Yeah, 25 years old. They do not have any more. They do not have any more education system in place for them. So what happens? They can go into centers for 1 day, 2 days. But what do we do with our children for the 3 reminders day? What do we do? What do we create for them so that they can also keep being into a system that is incorporating them instead of isolating them? So there is support, yes, but the support is got its own limit. And now the idea is like, luckily, with other mothers, we are coming together to also create solutions for our own children. And I think this is where the beauty lies, into the success lies. The success is being able to support your children, but on a level where you're not only supporting your child, but other children out there and other families.
Thank you, patient Sandra.
Yes, I was going to add to that. I mean, as patient have rightly said, once they reach 25, there's no more help or support for that young person. And equally, there's no support really even for you as a parent. So I myself is taking, I've taken it upon myself to even start going around, you know, places like charity shops and places where I know the risk assessment will be less for our young people to maybe get a job there, even if it's to volunteer, so that these employers will not feel threatened or some kind of way that in case we have a person with disability coming here, even to do voluntary, we won't have to put so much into them when it comes to, you know, the risk in the workplace. So, I mean, I'm encouraging mums out there that, listen, you don't want your daughter or son to just be at home after they leave college and not be doing anything. So go out there and see where maybe, even if it's like a laundrette, where they can just go and fold clothes, or even if it's a calf, where they can just help out. If you don't go out there to do something for that young person, they're just going to be at home, and their mental state is going to get worse, because once they're at home, it's going to affect their health. They're just going to be eating, because our young people, as mine, especially as an autistic young man, they love their food. Their eating habits change. So if you don't keep them busy and have some kind of a routine, you know, what you've, you know, the level of development that they've gained will just start going down, because they leave college, they leave a place where they were used to always going and having activities, and something was happening for them. Now they're going to be at home doing nothing. So for me, yes, the young person don't get support, the parents don't get support. So we need to start supporting each other to be able to keep it going. Otherwise, it's going to be 23, 24 years of gaining, and then you're just going to lose it all again, because nothing is out there for them.
Supporting each other, grab to do what is the community and the capacity to create new structures that could allow to be more be more effective in terms of assisting families, and more material to have more debate and more exchange to see if we could boost and push and contribute to changes in our society. Our next speaker, unfortunately, is having very important problems on connectivity. She is from US. Ms. Bridget Ta. She's a grief specialist coach, speaker, author, our G100 Global Networking Chair for US, president and founder of the Cancer Childhood Foundation. She is also a speaker, author, and a grief specialist coach, and author of the book Seeking Peace. She is, I don't know if she could be able to make it later. I hope so. For the meantime, I think we are going to go through our next speaker. That she have sent us the video from Guatemala because of the difference of time. She couldn't make it. She's a marketing specialist, our G100 National Chair for Guatemala, a life and corporate coach, and mentor, also an international speaker. Do we have the video ready? Yeah. Here we go.
Hello everyone, I'm really happy to be here with you, being part of this beautiful event. So thanks for inviting me and letting me be part of this. My name is Erika Barrientos. I'm the country chair of Guatemala. I'm in Central America, and I'm sending you hugs and best wishes for you all. Today I'm going to share with you my point of view from a wellness coach, from my experience working and helping people to promoting wellness, promoting health. I want to thank the mother who is sharing with us in this event her story of a mother of divergent children. I think these kind of events are very important because they educate us about something that we don't know, that we scarcely know. So I think today this beautiful time we'll learn a lot. So thanks again. First of all, I want to remind you how important is the role of a mother in a family. When a mother is happy, children are happy. When a mother is sad, children will be sad too. So that's why today I want to remind you how important it is to take care of yourselves, mothers, how to take care of yourself and your children, and how important it is to share among women and men and be conscious of how are we taking care of ourselves. But first of all, talking about neurodivergent children, I want to talk about that mothers always deal with a lot of challenges. Knowing more about neurodivergent children, we know that mothers with these children may be dealing with a lot of more challenges. So what we can do as a society is to understand, comprehend, and be part of this to in order to help mothers to feel better, because in the most we know, the most we can do to promote wellness among all of us. As a wellness coach, I always recommend to be part of a supportive network, because it doesn't matter what it is, what are you dealing with, what is it that takes a lot of energy from you. It is important to know other people who are also, or maybe are experiencing something similar of what you're experiencing. So first, I wanna recommend you to have a supportive network. If you're a mother with neurodivergent children, it is very important that you can connect with other mothers so you can exchange experiences from love, from gratitude, from the heart of the desire of learning something, and to help among others. So first, today I want to encourage you all to always have a supportive network, a secure place where you can talk, where you can share your experience, where you can share your feelings, where you can share your fears, and where you can also hear others and connect with their hearts. Then it is very important to promote self-care. If a mother doesn't take care of herself, she won't have the energy to take care of someone else. So it is very important to have healthy habits, to establish a routine in home, because it can diminish your stress and the stress of your children, of your family. So I want to encourage you to create healthy habits at home. What can we do? We must be conscious to have healthy food, to make exercise. Exercising is very, very helpful to promote calm, to relax yourself. So exercising is also very important, because there you can explore different kind of exercises that can promote joy in yourself. It is also very important to be conscious how important is to rest, the time you need. Resting is very, very important, because there you can recover, you can recharge. So I recommend you to rest all what you need. And it is also important to introduce to your routine complementary therapies that can help you promote wellness in your life. Here I will talk about meditation. You can meditate with your children, so you can promote calm in yourself at the end of the day, and you can get a good rest. It is also important to introduce aromatherapy. For me, it's been a very powerful tool that I can have in hand, and I can help manage my emotions and my
Wonderful video from Erica. Thank you so much, Erica, for sending us your message. I don't know if you agree or not. For me, as she goes through all we are talking about, our own resources, personal resources, meditation, therapy, and also the support from the community. But even that, yeah, she gives a responsibility individually to become powerful and balanced with our own, isn't it, my patient?
Yeah, I agree, and you know, it's really good, like that this video came. Well, okay, we're almost at the end, but that video came because this is one of the reasons why I created Authentic Care. It was to take an authentic care of myself, and that started when I realized that I needed to be more conscious about creating that effort for myself. I think it's really important. One thing that came through from doing exactly what Erica mentioned here, so the meditation, the breathing exercise, looking after myself more, what came from that is that I felt grounded. And because I felt grounded, I felt calm. So in situation that would create more challenges in terms of like nervous challenge or stress, I can easily move from one if I can say energy level to another. So I can quickly calm myself down and quickly be able to say like, okay, all done. Let's go slowly, and we're going to take care of what's happening right now and just leave it and not have it come into my day and disrupting the whole day. This is something that I learned along the journey, and it took a while to get there, but I think this is really important. Everything that Erica mentioned is just on point as well.
Thank you, Patient. So we are coming to an end, unfortunately, at least for this first event. Maybe we need another one all together, and with Bridget as well to join us. Sandra, final remarks in relation to this part of the debate, or something more, and we coming to an end. We are coming to an end.
Yes, like I stressed from the beginning, it's all about accepting. Once you accept what you're in, you're able to help and support yourself. So when you do accept whatever the situation is, it will alleviate so many things. It will help you mentally, emotionally, physically, because you know that this is the issue and I have to deal with it. How do I deal with it? What would I need to help me deal with it? And how am I going to take those steps? So as we've all said about, your mind, your well-being, all the things we've said is what we need, not just for our children, but also for us as individuals, as not just moms, but as dads, as families. Because if I'm okay and everybody around me is not, we're still not okay. So I'm so grateful for this afternoon and to be able to share and also to learn from the rest of us. And I hope those who've been watching us also learn something today to go away and help themselves.
We really hope so, Sandra, and it's us. We are so grateful for your amazing contribution, and we are going to have you in another time if you wish to join us. Steve. Steve?
Yes, sorry, my sound quality is not very good, so I'm... Sorry, my sound quality is not very good, so I'm kind of hyper listening to pick up everything. There has been some amazing things said today, but the big message is let these amazing things go out there into the community, because there's a lot of people out there in our communities who need to hear these messages. If people hear these messages, we're more likely to find supporters where we didn't have supporters before. We're more likely to find support in government, for example. I mentioned companies a short while ago, people like Microsoft, Samsung, Google. There are three that I can remember. They're all employing neurodivergent people. So let's find out what these companies are doing. Let's send them an email. They're going to be excited to talk about it. So maybe that's what we should focus on as well. There's a lot to focus on. But another thing that really comes to mind, you were talking, both Sandra and Patience, about young mums. Gosh, it must be overwhelming. It must be incredibly overwhelming. So what can we do? We can teach simple things like break states. Coaches will know what I'm talking about. What is a break state? Stop what you're doing just for a minute. Breathe. Breathe in, hold the breath, gently breathe out. Now choose a color that you can see in your room. I can see green over there and I can see green over there. I'm in my daughter's room, so it's a little bit chaotic. I can see green on the door. breathe, and then go back to what you're doing. That is a really simple exercise. You can teach neurodiverse children to do that as well. Okay, not all of them will get it, but some will. But if you can break state from what's happening, it makes a big, big difference. And maybe the world needs a break state so we can learn from one another. I think the mums of neurodiverse children have got an incredible amount to teach us. So let's keep doing that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Steve, for your comments, for your participation here, and for your wise message. Especially, I would take something that I consider that is very important. No? So be creative, create your own solutions for their own mothers. It should come from the mothers, and then we grab into what is the community or what is this kind of platform to transform it into a claim to the private sector. Why not? Don't have to be all from the public sector. They have to be for the private sector as well. If it's creative enough, as you say, Steve, they would hear us. So that's it. Thank you so much for that. And I think, as I said before, we have more material to work on it. Finally, we are going to with patient. I will leave you with the last message. And to all of you, thank you so much for being here, for contributing, and for losing the hope to do something different, and that something will come and will be better than before. Thank you all. Patient, please. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Marv. First of all, what you are doing is amazing. And I need to mention that there has been some episodes before, unfortunately in Spanish, so I'm not really fluent in Spanish like that. But if you are from the Spanish community and you want to listen to those as well, please do. Another thing as well, I think, is like we're creating awareness by sharing our story, yes. But what also we are doing is that we are educating people. Educating people, you don't have to have a master's in education to be able to educate others. Just by sharing your story and making other people understand what you're going through, or challenges you've been through, or even the successes you've had, is really important. So in that term, I want to say thank you again for this platform. Being a mother of neurodivergent children, I think for me, I've been able to do it because of the love maybe that I have also in my heart, the love that I'm able to give to people, not only to my children, to my family, but also to people around me. And I want to give more as well to people. So if you are a mother of neurodivergent children out there and you feel that, you know, today's message really touched you, I think don't shy away, don't stay in isolation, contact us, contact people like us, like Sandra as well is working, also Steve and Mark. Join our community in the G100 Global Networking so that we can support you. Thank you. Thank you very much.